In this episode, Darrell and I discuss why you should learn the lessons yourself rather than relying on cheat sheets. If you don't know who we are, Darrell and I were co-founders of a company called Realbase, which we recently sold for 180 million. I was CTO, Darrell was head of product. Let's jump into today's episode. I saw an article or a tweet from DHH again, so he's filling the content at the moment. But he wrote an interesting one and he's saying, learning hacks from people who've been successful when you're starting out. And he said, too many entrepreneurs are focused on compiling a cheat sheet from other people's experiences such that they don't have to make their own. Be careful with that. Ignorance is precious. Novelty is enchanting. And you don't want to know everything up front. And I think we touched on this in a previous episode. And it was about, should you be able to build a tool for a niche where you're not a professional or you haven't reached the top yet? And I think this is the same thread. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's definitely been aggravated by every consultant marketing person sells their cheat sheets, steal my swipe file. Everyone and I'm like guilty of this too. I comment whatever the required word is to comment to get an asset on Twitter all the time, to learn something new, to absorb it, to inevitably not use it because I think that it will be a shortcut to doing the work. And I think it's a product of that. Everyone markets all these things as like, this is a shortcut to getting something done because everyone listened to the advice that marketing should shorten the time horizons, and then that's how you get money from people. So they're trying to unlock money. They sell something that'll shorten your time horizon. Then everyone believes that every cheat sheet on the planet will teach them everything they need to know. And it almost never does. There's almost nothing useful in there compared to going in and doing the work. And it stopped 1,000,001 of our ideas in the past thinking too much about certain pieces. Like there are things that I know we could have proceeded with and we could have done and done very well, but we didn't because we were like, oh no, like whatever it might be, government regulation in that space or XYZ. And we didn't do it, and we could have done it, but we went too far down the rabbit hole of thinking about it and reading other people's problems that they had in that space and thinking, oh, well, if they had that problem, we'll never make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think this is super true. Like you can definitely get caught in the weeds where you just start, it's the analysis paralysis. That's the old one there, where you just analyze it to the nth degree and decide it's too hard rather than just giving it a crack and seeing where you end up. But I think also the key thing here for most, if you're coming from a software engineer world where, and he talks about tutorials and things like that, and we've touched on this again, but it was, you learn or you see someone's end result without ever experiencing mistakes. And this is actually, it's from Primeagen. That's why I'm just clicking. He said it. He said, it's such a bad way to learn because you never get to experience the mistakes or how to solve your mistakes or problems because everything's just given to you on a golden platter. And I think that is so true because if you're trying to solve a problem for the first time and you have to spend hours on it, it really gets ingrained in your brain. Like it will stick there, it will stay there. You won't forget it because you had to learn and you had to figure out how to do it yourself. When you just get given an answer, you do tend to forget it. And I think this is I'm really interested to see where AI coding goes because people are saying you're all idiots if you don't think AI is going to take over coding. And sure, it will probably be able to build a lot of stuff. People are going to lose critical thinking. A lot of critical thinking because you're never going to have to actually think about anything. It's going to do it for you. And you're going to assume that it's done it correctly. So I recently spent a lot of time, not a lot of time. I spent a bit of time using the new Cursor AI code editor because I was like, man, everyone's frothing on this thing. It's so good. AI is the best. And it didn't get anything right for me. It couldn't do anything right. I asked it to do it. The stuff, the code, it was using my code, so it could have just copy pasted the information, but it just didn't know. And the only reason I know it wasn't right is because I've done this before and I know what is right is. And the only reason I know what that is because I've spent heaps of time fiddling and getting it right. So I think that's where, learning hacks from people. And again, I think learning hacks from people, AI is just this on steroids, right? You're learning the hacks of many people in software because it's using all the learnings from all the engineers on what's the best way to write this function, which it thinks is the best way to write this function, but it
But
may
it
not
doesn't
be.
know what's good.
Doesn't know
It
what's
doesn't
good.
have any frame. Like no one rated every piece of code ever in like a broad assembly of people, 500 people rate this code. No one's ever done that. So
Yeah.
it's just guessing what it thinks might be good.
Yeah.
There's definitely like an abstraction layer that's going to exist for AI. And then if you don't understand how to go below that layer, you're like, when it breaks, you won't be able to fix it. And the AI also won't be able to, at least not in the short term, go down the layers and explain to you why it's not working, why what it did was broken.
Yeah.
Can't do
So,
that at the moment.
so it's a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think like AI is becoming that person who knows everything. It's that person who you think knows everything. So we ask it
Yep.
questions and we're like, yeah, well, you know, so I'm skipping learning. I don't need to learn how to do this because the AI can just do it for me. And that's kind
Yeah.
of where people are starting to land. And I think it's the same. So we learn from other people, like we learn from people who have done it. And, you know, I make tutorials and I show people, but I always want to encourage people to actually go and build their own thing. Like you can use tutorials to like show you how to do it, but then go and do it yourself in a different product. Don't like copy paste exactly what someone's done. Go and take that concept and transplant it into your app because you're going to still have slightly different things and you're going to learn these things. So yeah, I think
I think it's like the solving the problem that you did, like as a mental exercise, solving the problem, the exact problem you solved isn't the benefit really. Like if you go down and you solve a really sticky problem, the mental pathways that you took to get there and the way you figured it out will make you better at doing it next time. And it's fine to lean back on other people's advice in certain cases, but what happens when you need to go outside of what you can find with your network or with the internet and like solve a problem that no one has solved because it's got a whole bunch of different variables? The frameworks that you build every time you solve a problem are going to make you better and better at that. And you won't ever get that if you take cheat sheets and other people's answers all the time.
100%, totally agree. So learn yourself, listen to, watch other people because you might find a secret, a little hack, but it's very
there's
important.
definitely benefits to like hearing how someone did something. But when you encounter that like first big sticky problem, you're going to wish that you had a way of working through it or some experience like working on smaller problems. If you take all the cheat sheets for all the smaller problems, when you get to a bigger problem, you're just going to be overwhelmed by it.
Correct. Yeah. So make sure you're learning so that you can build your own hacks in your brain.
Yeah. And then sell them to people.
And here we are again.
Yeah.